Hey, good afternoon. October 24th.
Hey.
Almost the end of October, 2024. And we're at a very interesting time. An interesting topic to talk about today, too.
Went quick, didn't it, October?
Very quick, yeah. And I was just thinking, I was looking at some options I had to move around and some things I had to adjust and roll yesterday. And I was thinking, geez, December expiry. I thought, December expiry? That's like 60-something days away. That's like nothing, right? Although, it could be an eternity in Bitcoin if they're holding you underwater, but it's really not that far away.
I've got a bunch of inventory I've rolled into December puts that are decaying quite quickly now.
Excellent. Okay, so we're waiting for some more people. More people rolling into the room. Hey, Vladimir, good to see you. So what are we going to talk about today? Actually, here, I think I got my little slide.
It's a bit late to ask that now, what we're going to talk about. We should have thought about that before we went live.
Well, we usually just spout off and espouse our opinions on various things, right or wrong, and just sort of talk nonsense anyways, all right? What do we talk about? Yes, presidential election. Big topic. It seems like the right time to talk about it. Yes. Talking about nonsense. That's right. Watching the circus unfold on the news media and Twitter. It's quite entertaining, actually. So we're going to talk about the impacts on the price of Bitcoin, depending upon the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. And it's not so cut and dry as it used to be. Used to be that hold an election and that night you knew who won. And now some states are saying, we need 10 days and we need this and all. Only one reason they're going to do that. But I'll try not to inject my opinion in too much.
Why would you need ID to vote when given that you need ID for everything else like driving? Voting is not important, right?
I saw a guy talking about the University of the United States is giving all students, even illegals, their student ID card, and that's all that's required to vote there. So basically, if you want to have your say in the U.S. presidential election and you don't live in the States, just go there and vote. Why not, right? Why not just everybody just go to whatever country they want to vote for? That particular, I'll go to the UK and I'll vote, and it's so absurd. But anyways, I'm not going to get on a soapbox. I'm just going to try and talk some facts today and some opinions that are maybe more likely to reveal themselves over the coming weeks. It's going to be an interesting time, and I hope it's not a bad time. I hope there's not a lot of violence and a lot of things. There's going to be some for sure, no matter what happens. But that just seems to be the devolution of society and the road that we're on. And I think it's going to take some time to correct that. So let's see who else we got here. Hey, Marcus, good. Core from Holland, great. Let's get rocking and rolling. First things first. So we're talking about the U.S. presidential election. So I've got a little poll. Let's have our own little informal little poll here. Who's going to win? Democrats, Republicans? Just put your answer in, and we will see. By the end of the show, we'll discuss the outcome, maybe, if it seems worth it. So before we get on to that, let's take a quick look at Bitcoin and what it's been doing. And I'll just bring up my screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Interesting. So we had a great run, fantastic run from high 50s right to almost 70,000, and that was fantastic. And where did it stop? Well, right where we expected it to stop, which has been there for a year now. I don't know, almost a year.
That's like three or 4 months now. The channel.
What do you mean? No, this has been here since I went up there the first time.
No, you're right. Oh my God.
Yeah, man. Jeez. Come on, give me some credit.
It's insane.
The funny thing is so on one of our trading accounts where we do our live stream every day at Rogue Trader Academy, the price was kind of coming down here, we're farting about, pull back. And we were saying, it seems reasonable that Bitcoin would have some type of a breather or a pullback, just rest. And it would just go sideways and then continue to go up. I don't know, right? Who knows? But I wouldn't have been surprised if it would have come down to mid, even low 60s as an extreme, and then back up. That wouldn't have surprised me at all. But it does generally respect these levels. But when it was here, we have one of our strategies called the mean machine, where we're only, I don't want to get into the strategy, but anyways, the market has to move a certain amount before we take any action. And we were saying that, you know what, I want it, you know, if it plugs through 66, that's probably where we're going to take this fill. And you said, you know what, Shane, let's throw an order out. And normally I don't like to throw orders, hang orders out there. In case it does, we'll put it at, you know, what the price would be if it did that. And sure enough, it plunged through, went right back up. We got the fill.
We got the fill, do we?
Kudos to you. Yeah. Kudos to you.
Nice. So great. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah. And on the live stream yesterday, we were kind of poking down here. And I said, well, you know what? It seems reasonable. It'd probably go down to 64, but it didn't. It didn't.
It was the 63K put for next week.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's good.
Nice. We sold it at 250, and it's currently worth 175.
Fantastic.
Nice.
There you go. I think, and this is something I'm going to bring up too when we're talking. ETF inflows. Just we had one negative day, but geez, I mean, some big numbers coming through. Some real big numbers coming through. So that's kind of an underlying story as well.
My feeling on that is that still it's a laggy indicator, though. So, just because Wall Street are doing it doesn't mean it's. It means the degenerates on Wall Street are just as degenerate as the degens in Binance, right? So, probably more so because they're using even more leveraged money. Down days can still occur, but I think it does feel like someone's locked in to be buying these ETFs now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just as a reminder to everyone, we will answer questions at the end of the show. So plug in any questions you happen to have, and we'll get them at the end of the show. So let's just kind of move on to this whole U.S. president election and Bitcoin. Now, this is the first election where crypto has been an issue. It's been a talking point, and it might sway some voters. Now, some voters might be like single issue, like, I'm just going to care about crypto. That's it. I don't care about anything else, and they're going to vote appropriately. I suppose there's some people out there like that, but we're in a unique position, and I think going forward, it's always going to be in the near future, I think, unless it becomes adopted as a reserve currency or something like that, which I don't think will happen. But if it becomes mainstream, then it might not be an issue so much anymore, because every party is just going to deal with it and function with it to some degree. But a lot of people are out there saying that, we've talked about this in the live stream. You said you think this might be buy the rumor, sell the news. And you could be right. Maybe this run up was just, hey, Trump, he's probably going to win. But if it does win, is it going to sell off? Could be.
What I'm saying there is that a Trump win is priced in.
Yeah.
And a Kamala win would be disastrous for the entire universe. And the market knows it.
Yeah. Although, to that point, I read an article, I think it was Satoshi Flipper, I think. He was saying that he doesn't think that a Trump victory is priced in yet.
Interesting.
Yeah. So and they're saying, Bitcoin 100K. They're not saying maybe overnight, but maybe by a second term, it could be north of 100K. And
Bitcoin to 100K is inevitable because of money printing anyway. So
yes, we were talking about that all year, weren't we? Yeah, and a lot of people already believe that. So this kind of just sort of fits in. I don't have an opinion on whether it's priced in or not.
There's going to be volatility around election day. They can't not be. I actually think at the moment that market makers are short vol around that time, and the market is long vol, which means that there's probably not an incentive to move the market that much, but the herd might stampede anyway. So I think the stability we're seeing in the market right now is because the market is the data brokers are short vol, and the whales don't have an incentive to move it too much. But that could change.
And we have noted how the market is very predictably right now just hunting liquidity and then moving, getting the next liquidity, just bouncing back and forth. I think that's the way market makers are really making money right now.
It's a characteristic of markets where retail isn't really present.
Yeah. Now, the other thing we've been doing on some of our accounts, and of course talk about this on our live streams, is we've been, because there's so much volatility on January 8th, we've been moving things there. So we've been taking stuff, longer dated stuff, bring it forward, dump it on the 8th. Some shorter dated stuff that's, we decide to roll and dump it on the 8th. Now, we're not overloading the 8th, because if there's a black swan, it would be hooped. But we've that's where the vol is, and that's where we're selling. So you're talking about the big shortfall.
Yeah, I actually got in touch with Deribit last week to warn them that I think there's a large amount of gamma building up on the 80K 8th of November and 29th of November strikes. And the reason is that you've got like $1,000 strikes up to 80K, and then suddenly there's a $5,000 gap. So no one's got anywhere to go, which means that anyone who wants to trade the 81, 82, 83, 84 are all trading the 80. Which means there's load of risk piling up there.
Yeah, and I've noticed even on some, I don't remember offhand, but I was doing some trading the other day, and some puts too. It's like, hang on, why did you just skip to $5,000 intervals here, where it didn't make a lot of sense? And you're right. Or if you're buying cover, you're forced to buy cover.
You're right. It's the same below 60, isn't it? Below 60, there's $5,000 jumps, and it's because the 8th of November was stuck in as a quarterly or something stupid. Yes, because they all thought, oh, we better put something in for the election, and well, now it's real, guys. You've got to add some more strikes.
I got to deal with it. Yeah. So back to the the U.S. presidential election. Now, it's generally believed that a Republican win would be positive for the crypto industry, and basically, cause assets to go up. Now, a lot of people are talking about, because of the current regulatory environment, it actually might be more positive for altcoins, which is interesting. So, it may be positive for Bitcoin, but they're saying that a lot of altcoins might simply outperform Bitcoin and ETH, for example, just because of the way that regulation is currently set up. And that's interesting. And we also have other, like Ripple and Solana, maybe looking to come listed as ETFs. And a lot of people think that would also be inevitable too, which would just cause more inflows. And I kind of wonder, and this is, I didn't think about this until just now, are we setting ourselves up for a duel down the road, in a way, a competition for dollars and VC, all kinds of things between TradFi markets and crypto? Or are they going to be synchronous? Or are they going to just things flowing back and forth, just like you flow from healthcare into resource, into another sector, tech sector, for example?
I think
that one was weak and one was strong.
Liquidity is liquidity, right? I mean, there's oodles of liquidity, and it's going to flow somewhere, and it's going to flow to wherever the fast money thinks the most alpha is. And if that means meme coins or Sol, which pretty much is a meme coin, or anything, they'll do it. And Wall Street's no different to the rest of the crypto degens. They'll just go where the money is, right? They'll go where the momentum is, and things will get ridiculous out of all proportion, as they do in tech stocks, by the way. I mean, Nvidia trading at 60 times future earnings on the basis that they can still keep tripling their sales every year. Microsoft trading at 80 times earnings. These are all memes. They're not real, right?
Yeah. And I used to trade for a brokerage back in 1999 when that bubble burst, that tech bubble burst, and you had hundreds of companies that had zero earnings, never earned $1. That people, the money was coming in, and I might have told you this story before, but I remember I had to come to the front office, to do some. I have no idea what the hell I was doing there at the front office. Some guy came in and he was looking. He was like, "Hey, I want to make some investments." And I'm like, "What? Let me find someone for you." There's some kid on a skateboard, right? When kids on the skateboard are coming up the street, you want to make an investment, you better get out. It's time to get out. Let me tell you. And I didn't think about it at the time. I said, "Hey, just some kid wants to, invest his, $200 or whatever he's got. I mean, I don't know, whatever."
The reason I'm still happy to be short puts in Bitcoin long term. I'm going to get in the money, and but I'm happy to be essentially long Bitcoin, because at the moment when I get into a taxi, the taxi driver is not begging me to tell him which coin to invest in next, and that happened in 2021.
But
a lot.
If we're at the bottom of a meme coin super cycle, which people are talking about, maybe by this time next year, people, it might all be over by then. But I think there's going to be some money to be made.
I thought so. We watched a presentation by a guy called Murad Mahmudov at the Token 2049 in Singapore, and it's called the meme coin super cycle. And you guys should look it up. Actually, I thought what he said was very sensible, and what he's basically saying is that ownership of a meme coin is basically a badge of membership to a club, and the biggest pressing need for everyone in the world these days is to cure their loneliness. Yeah. People are lonely. They spend time in front of a screen. Yeah. They don't have real friends. They don't have religion. They don't have real meaning in their lives. They don't have real work, and they just want to belong and be accepted. And meme coin communities give them that. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, now I understand. Now I understand. They're not buying investments. They're just buying belonging.
Comfort or something. Yeah, it just makes them feel good. Yeah. And I suppose we can look back and say, hang on, all these pieces start to fit like Tetris, because you think about, these kind of nerds online who have been gaming 20 years ago. Well, they found their community, they found their place where they fit and they enjoyed it. And it's really no different. And that guy talked about, there's no religion or little religion. People don't even know what sex they are anymore. It's all chaos. And that's what he was saying, right? Yeah. And it makes sense. It gives them something. And I really enjoyed that. Now, the other thing, and we talked about the ETF inflows. It's been heavy inflows. And yes, it's kind of like, the market goes down today. Well, if I go check the inflows, it was probably negative or flat. It is a lagging sort of an indicator. But I think we've seen well over $500 million coming in inflows, in the last couple of weeks. And I think that's something that can't be ignored.
There's two ways to not ignore it. The one way is, therefore, there's a massive floor under the price. The other way is, therefore, there's $500 million waiting to get dumped in the market as soon as Wall Street gets scared.
Well, if we can distribute that across not just Bitcoin and other ETFs or other things, that's why a lot of people are saying, look, if Trump wins, we might see a lot of ETFs come online and a lot of other coins and a real resurgence in these altcoins. That could be.
Well, this is why I'm a bit concerned about what if the evil hag wins and then the Wall Street goes, oh my God, this is like unless she's contained and controlled immediately, and someone comes out and says, yes, I'm her handler, it's going to be the end of commerce in the US for the next 6 years plus, right? So they're going to just dump anything that's volatile. And what's the most volatile thing?
That's true. I think it would be a disaster if and I'm not going to give my personal opinion of Kamala because this isn't the place to do it. But I would think it'd be a complete disaster.
But we can talk about the markets. The markets love Trump. The markets love a businessman in charge. And Trump has a great track record of turning the slums of Manhattan into the luxury avenues of Manhattan. In his lifetime, he did it, right? And he was almost single-handedly. And he's teamed up with the single most successful businessman who's intent on saving humanity ever. And these guys are traders. They love that. So absolutely, Wall Street wants Trump to win, no question.
And when you talk about bringing Musk on in order to enact these more efficiency in government department and cutting down Wall Street,
Wall Street,
I mean, less government. That's unheard of until governments usually collapse. Then there's less government, but they always grow until they become so inflated they collapse. And it's funny. I was watching some Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock and some other things, and they talk about how fast civilizations go. And Graham Hancock flippantly kind of says, we could be gone in 20 years. I thought. You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. A number of ways, but let's not get into that.
One meteorite, the size of the one that landed on Tunguska in is it 1920 in Siberia? That was an airburst, they reckoned, and that flattened 200 square kilometers radius of forest. So imagine that landing on Manhattan.
Sure.
That's the end, right?
Yeah. So, this thing, okay, so the markets, the betting markets are all pointing towards a Trump win. Okay, I think it's generally agreed, except for like you get the odd guy like Mark Cuban, and like I said, nobody's really taking him serious anymore. He seems to have lost his mind. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Maybe some degenerative brain disease. I have no idea what's happening with him. But I'll still listen to what he has to say. I'll always listen to everyone and anyone. But he kind of has an odd way about him now. He seems to have really changed in the last 10 years. However, the reality is that it's pointing towards that. I don't want to really talk about the cheating that's going to go on. We know there's going to be a ton of it. And that's where it comes to, oh, shit, this might get violent, regardless of what side wins. We know that the left is generally the more violent ones. It's going to be nasty. And I just hope everyone's okay, because it doesn't need to be like that. It needs to be quick and efficient. Do an election. Whoever wins. Hey, let's carry on. They got 4 years, and then you can vote next time. That's the way it should be. Now, what are we going to do? I don't think either of us are hedging either way. No. I'm not doing anything special, except right now I'm selling volatility where there's high volatility. I'm not, buying, 5 delta calls and puts or anything, thinking it's going to explode to 100K or go down to 45K. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there'll be some volatility, but I don't think it's going to go much outside its range, unless maybe it's a Republican win, and it does eventually break that ceiling up around 72, and then maybe we're off to the races. And if that's the case, don't stand in front of that freight train, would be my opinion and advice.
Yeah, that's fair, right? Yeah, and I've taken the view that the vol beyond the election is probably a bit too expensive. So I've been buying short dated, selling long dated. And I've probably crush. I've probably not really needed to buy the short dated vol, but I just didn't want to be completely unbalanced, because I thought if there is going to be some shenanigans, just like they front run October and September, which I correctly predicted, by the way, and just throwing that in, and so I would, if it were me manipulating markets, which I'm not rich enough to, but so don't worry. I would do it before the election, not after. I'd want to get everyone else side.
And you think there's going to be a big vol crush, or do you think there could be? And it depends on what happens after the election. If it's really messy and it goes on for weeks, there could be a vol rise.
We could have there could be a whole new bull run, but there's no narrative for a whole new bull run just yet. In my view, sure, there's the whole limited supply business and BlackRock buying tokens, but the world is poised in a precarious place with humongous valuations in stocks and massive credit boom everywhere. But US homes at their lowest affordability, interest rates going up in America, even though the Fed funds rate went down. Bond buyers are demanding lower prices for the bonds they buy from the government in the US because they don't believe that the government can pay their bills. There's a whole bunch of things that
it's complicated,
which long term mean assets go up for sure, but short term means panic and volatility. So I feel that buying aggressively into today would be brave.
Yeah. Interesting. One just quick thing I thought of too, because we know that BlackRock practically owns the world now, and buying so much. They own so much residential homes and farmland, and not just in the U.S. and around the world. They've almost become like this evil empire to some people, and for a lot of people, they kind of came out of nowhere. There's talk. I remember back in the 1980s when Bell got broken up and broken down into all these baby bells. There's talk about BlackRock being broken up. I think there's arguments for and against it. But I wonder if that would affect the price of Bitcoin, because they kind of are the face of Bitcoin ETFs, I wonder what that would do. Now, if that happened, I think it'd be a long ways off. There's probably no reason to talk about it too much right now, but that might be an interesting dynamic.
I could totally get the idea of BlackRock Bitcoin being the evil empire, and Doge, and what the latest ones, Bonk and those other coins being like the face of the resistance. I could totally get that. And the youngsters are always in your face and always contrarian. They'll do it just to fuck with you, and so they always reject everything that gets built in the generation before.
Every generation has its own Sid Vicious, right?
I agree. And Bitcoin is getting long in the tooth, right? It's like, the people who got rich out of Bitcoin.
So 10 years ago,
those crazy young guys who got rich out of Bitcoin are all in their 50s now.
Yeah.
How uncool is that?
Totally uncool. Freaking losers. All right. Questions here. We're at the end of our time almost. So Vladimir, set up my TPs, I take profits at 64K, and planning to flip into longs there. I don't think that's a bad idea. I probably posted that when we showed the chart. Yeah. Core, we've got the same signature as 27K at October 2023. I didn't think about that. I could. Fuck. Which most of it? Here's. Sorry, I didn't swear.
What happened in October 23? Oh, we went up. Yeah.
Yeah. I could just bring up the old chart.
Yeah, but Vols were a lot lower in October 23 than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing down at 30 Vol back then.
Yeah. Here we are. Here. Yeah.
And there'd been a long summer where people had been aggressively selling Vol to get yield, and a lot of those guys got killed in October last year, and I don't know how many of them are left. So I don't know how. I don't think the market is as aggressively short gamma as it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we saw in the end of last year and the beginning of this year was a massive gamma squeeze, I think.
Paul, in 10 years, all TradFi will be tokenized.
It'll be something else cooler.
Something cooler?
Yeah.
I don't know what
we'll all be wearing mine nets, and we'll be communicating with each other through the.
Yeah, and we'll all look like Klaus Schwab. We'll have these like alien outfits on, and
well, you guys will. I'll be on Elon on the way to Mars. I'll be with Elon.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to Mars. I have no problem dying on Mars, actually. Well, we talked about this one of our over our live streams. Let's not bore everyone with that conversation. Vladimir, which strategy you suggest if you want to buy long-dated puts or calls and you want them to be free? Well, I think we like calendar spreads, and diagonals.
Yeah. I think it's fairly safe to buy calendars right now.
Yeah.
I think if you sorry, you're buying the long. Do you know what I would do? I would wait for a big move either direction, and I would buy the other side of it and wait for the swing, because there's sure as hell.
Sure. What do you mean? What?
If I wanted to get a longer strangle for December, I think I'd probably wait for the election result and wait for the inevitable whipsawing. Myself, I think I'd do nothing right now. It's my view.
I suppose there's a chance you might miss it if that happened, but
that's always the perennial fear of every trader.
You'll pay a lot less.
Well, but also I think there'll be a whipsaw for sure. There's not going to be like a straight green line up or a red line down, right? This never is.
Yeah, who knows? Probably not. No, you're right.
I mean,
unless it's a news event that's like, boom, China makes Bitcoin legal. Well, we'll see a straight line up. But
well, that's something that we didn't mention. We should mention is that Denmark now have a paper out suggesting that the government legislates on taxing unrealized gains on cryptocurrencies in order to save the economy. The US are talking about taxing unrealized gains on cryptos and legislating heavily around cryptos.
You mean the Democrats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the one hand, Harris is sort of going out saying, "Oh yeah, I love crypto." On the other hand, her team are all like plotting to rob everyone of their crypto.
Yeah, but I don't think she has a clue what she's talking about with that. Really.
but I mean, I
think you have to take that into account of what's the team behind her.
But the point is, I think that central bankers and think tanks are beginning to realize that there is a whole grey underground economy or you could call it a freedom economy in crypto, and it's definitely there because we use it, right?
Yeah.
Most international trade in goods in knowledge services such as software engineering and testing and HR, not HR, customer service and stuff are done in USDT, right? Because it's cheaper and easier to transact in USDT than anything else. It's the biggest Euro-dollar market in the world. This is terrifying, I think, to central bankers because to them this represents this is the currency we can't control, and it's our job to control the currency and to provide stability. And this is just, to them, it just means instability.
Yeah.
So they'll do everything they can to get it under control. But of course, people being what they are will just keep on creating meme coins and defeating them. Yeah.
Question from Paul. Would buying call and put spreads for 8th of November make sense? So reverse iron. So I guess you're buying an iron condor for post-election vol. So you're basically betting on vol's going to explode, and you're going to do it as a spread to save on the cost. Yeah, that's what you mean. So you're buying the call or the put, and then you're selling further out of the money. I think that's what you're trying to say. Long iron condor. It could, it saves you money, and you can capture some of that for sure. It could. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know
the Vols are with you on that trade, aren't they? If you were to buy a 1x2 iron condor, you could do it for free, and you should be able to pick up some profit from that, I think.
Yes. You're talking about a 1x3, and Paul says yes, or sorry, 1x2. So that's where you're buying one call and selling two calls, or buying one put and selling two puts in order to pay next to nothing, or maybe get a small credit, or have it flat.
But I also think that if you were to buy that iron condor today, there's definitely going to be a day when you're up for sure, right? Because the moment you breathe, an iron condor loses money on day one. The real question is, if you buy the 70k and sell the 75, are you going to realize the full 5k? No idea.
Yeah. Bit of a wild card there.
Yeah.
Gene, do you feel like vols are still muted compared to what you'd expect as for an election? I don't know if I have an opinion on that.
No, I don't. I think vols were a little overdone.
My question to you, Richard, is: do you know what the vols were the last election? I have no idea.
That's a great question. I don't think it mattered so much then, but I don't know. The vols were higher 4 years ago, 2020.
But crypto wasn't a talking point.
But Bitcoin was like worth nothing back then. It was like $3,000, wasn't it? I mean, it was nothing. It didn't, and options had only just started on crypto, so people were busy trying to figure out how to price them. I don't think I remember in the beginning of 20, end of 20, beginning of 21, people were selling $800 calls on Ethereum when Ethereum was like $300, and thinking they were going to get away with it, and then the market chased them up and gamma squeezed them to hell, and Ethereum went up to $1,600. And a similar thing happened on Bitcoin. It went up from, was it 20k to eventually 60, pushing everything in its path.
And then a massive pullback, which crushed everyone else.
Yeah. Which with the mid 2021 pullback killed everyone again.
Oh, that was tough. That
was back on. But I think it was different then. I think I don't think crypto prices are anything to do with halvings or elections or economic cycles. They're to do with M2, the amount of free credit that's available. That's all. It's all it is. Credit.
We talked about last week, chasing liquidity.
Yeah.
Core says, I expect retailers to become interested in Bitcoin above 100k, then I expect a bull run.
It's definitely newsworthy, right? 100k is a big number that you can flash on screens. Bitcoin 100k. Do you own one? More expensive than a gold bar. all that kind of narrative. It's
yeah.
not, but these days to buy a proper 30-ounce gold bar is mega money. But
yeah. And there'll be eventually there'll be comparisons like you know 1 Bitcoin equals a Lambo or something, or you know who knows, there'll be comparisons like that,
or a house,
or a house. Yeah,
that'll matter. Actually, 1 Bitcoin currently is a house in many places in the world.
Sure. Yeah. All right, here a poll. We got the poll. Let's end the poll. Let's see who will win the U.S. election. Well, 36% say the Democrats, 63% says Republicans. And you know, all you have to do is look at rallies. You know, Trump goes to a rally, and it's people as far as you can see. Kamala comes out, no one's there. But there are always going to be people who are going to be against Trump because they don't like him or his attitude, the way he talks, or whatever. Or they believe all the stories.
How can you not like the guy who's humble enough to go and work in a McDonald's, wearing cufflinks and a tie, by the way?
I know so many stories about Trump. I know people who know Trump, how generous and what an incredible person he is. Now, yes, he does rub people the wrong way. Sometimes there's no filter between his mouth and his brain, but there's no filter with the other candidate too. But it just works differently. It just comes out as mud. So
actually, I've got a good friend who actually was a good friend of mine. Scott was his photographer actually years ago.
Oh, interesting.
And he had genuine affection for Trump last time round, and actually he said it was the loveliest guy to work for.
Yeah. And I don't want this to be like a pro-Trump thing.
No. I'm just saying that's just one data point. I naturally, from my humanity perspective, I'm actually fairly left-leaning in terms of my sympathies to the community and so on. But I don't see this as a left or right battle. I think I see this as a battle between real people and puppets.
Yeah, like some people would say between, I don't know if it goes as far as say good and evil, but sometimes it's hard not to see it that way.
Yeah.
And I recognize that a lot of the media that I consume, I get influenced by. I totally recognize that. That's why I always try and be open to both sides of an argument as much as I can. However, I think that's it for today. So, hey, I think our poll is right in line with most other, polls that aren't political with their outset, and it reflects a lot what the betting markets are seeing. Whether this will come to fruition or not, we don't know. We'll never know the level of deception happening with the U.S. Some things will be discovered. Yes, if they decide to board up the windows, kick out all the Republican ballot, like the people who watch, and then find 400,000 votes overnight. Again, for one candidate, well, that's hard to disguise. They can say whatever the fuck they want. It's bullshit. But we'll never know the true extent. And I'm not saying it might not happen on both sides. I don't know, but it does seem to lean one way. And it's interesting because I don't think it has to be like that. It does not have to be like that. They could simplify voting. They used to do it the old ways. Other countries in the world do it all the time. They have their elections, within 8-10 hours or whatever after the polls close. It's bloody simple. And the only reason you'd want to obfuscate that is because you want to cheat. There's no other reason. So I hope, again, I have a lot of American friends on both sides of the aisle. I love them all. And I just hope that everyone's okay there and they don't lose their minds too much, whichever way it goes. Well, anyways, that's enough.
We can have other episodes about the destruction of Western society and what it means for Bitcoin.
Yeah, we should do a podcast and just talk crap the whole hour. Just let it flow. Let it flow, no filter. That'd be great. All right, hey, I think that's it for today. If we've got no more questions, I hope everyone's doing okay. I think it's been pretty good trading. I think that. We're going to show our Synth Miner.
We remember how we lost a lot of money on our Synth Miner.
Well, August was horrible. We knew we needed time to recover from it, so we're like, let's not bother showing that anymore because it'd be bloody depressing. But we always come back.
On it. Yeah. So here we go. We've been working on the account, and you see how we had this big drawdown. You see that?
Yeah. That was when Bitcoin dropped 30%.
Yeah. And of course we were short puts and nothing else, and so we went down with it. But we've been working it, and here we are. We're actually back up 10% in terms of Bitcoin, and in terms of dollars, 25%. So we're outperforming hodling, And so it's still working its way back. And I think it's really instructive and important. And the people watching our Patreon are seeing this, how we work it and trade it and how we recover it and how it's never over till it's over, right? There's always a way back. So
always keep margin.
Yeah, it's definitely worth giving us $2 a day to watch us do this.
Yeah, give me an extra $1 a day instead of Richard, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's good. I want to think of something clever, but nothing.
Wait a minute, you owe me $1, don't you?
I owe you $1. Oh, okay, fine. I'll just pay Richard back. All right. Hey, we've run over time. Thanks everyone for joining us. Always great to have you guys here and say questions and tolerate us talking about our stuff we talk about and have a little bit of fun with us. So thanks a lot, everyone, and we will see you next week.